Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today, though I'm not happy about the subject that we're going to be discussing. And that's obviously politics in entertainment, something that most people in America, most people in the world oppose, something that everyone likes to keep separate. Politics and entertainment really don't mix, but it seems we no longer have the choice on that. In fact, we may not have had that choice for a long time. Before we get to that, if this is the first time that you've been to the channel, then we thank you, and we do long-form political commentary here. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream. We go on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and we speak with you in your tweets and your comments and your calls about the issues that matter to us all. And we enjoy having that expression of free speech. We invite you to join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from anywhere in the world on our live stream. Now to the issue of the day. Talking about Gina Carano, talking about Disney Plus, talking about politics and entertainment. It's a big issue, and it's an issue that's been going on for some time. It is often called the Get Woke movement. Something that is also called the Get Woke, Go Broke, because it's a mix of politics and entertainment that most people in America and most people in the world reject, even as we are told that we must accept it and that we must agree with it. We need only look so far as to look at the recent show Batwoman, which we are told by the entertainment media that we have to love it, that it's an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, that this is a great program, and yet the audience says it isn't. At 16%, most people rejecting it, having lower and lower ratings every week that this program has been going on. It's just not good, because it is an expression of politics in entertainment. It's a political show. It is a woke program, but it isn't entertaining. And there is a difference. And it's not just limited to what we see on certain programs. We saw this with the Super Bowl. Just before the Super Bowl, we saw them, Mary Sue, happily tell the public that Tom Brady is the height of white privilege, that sports are about politics. In fact, they go, and if you have a question, you can always look at the links to everything we're going to be presenting. It will be in the description in YouTube so that you can read it in full for yourself to come to your own decision. But in part, and I quote, Brady and others like him don't deserve our praise or benefit of doubt. They deserve to be held to the same standards as everyone else. And anyone who excuses him or acts like there's nothing wrong with, quote, keeping politics out of things, end quote, is just as complicit as he is. Because Brady's career isn't in politics doesn't mean he gets to ignore the realities of the world around him. It doesn't mean he gets to stay silent or to have a free pass. He needs to own up to his white privilege, period. That's what we're being told. Sports, entertainment, you don't get to keep that out, because if you do, well, then you're guilty. You are a problem. That if you are like Brady, and again, their words are, or like him, that they, meaning you, don't deserve to be held to the same standard as everyone else, that there's some kind of separation. If you excuse him, or if you act like there's nothing wrong with keeping politics out of entertainment, you are the problem. Kind of like what we're told with Batwoman. If you don't like this program, you are the problem. Even only 16% of the audience do enjoy the program. That even though they're being told they should watch this program because it's so woke, the public is rejecting it. In fact, this is something we see out in France right now. The president of France on February 9th, 2 days ago, came out and told of the out-of-control woke leftism and cancel culture, that this was something destroying the people of France. There's a problem. There's a big problem. And many people know it. We've even seen it in our not just our entertainment in terms of TV shows or sports, but it's in our music as well. Back in October of 2020, we highlighted Chelsea Handler, who had the audacity to come out and tell an entertainer, a black man, 50 Cent, that he couldn't vote the way he wanted to vote because of the color of his skin. In fact, if you may recall, what she said at the time was she had to remind him that he was black and therefore could not vote for Donald Trump. Imagine that. Imagine if someone said, because you're a woman, I have to remind you you're a woman and you can't vote for Joe Biden. What if I were to say, oh, let's remind you that you happen to be, I don't know, gay. And because you're gay, you can't vote for Andrew Yang, Joe Biden. You'd be incensed. You would be upset. You would be angry. How dare you say that? As the meme shows, imagine reminding a black person that they can't sit somewhere on a bus. That you had to remind a person that because they're black, they can't get food at a diner. They can't drink water from a fountain. That happened in America in the 1950s, 1930s. It existed. It was true under Jim Crow laws. And we reject that. Well before 2021, we have rejected that idea that someone needs to remind a person of the color of their skin, of their gender, of their sexual preference, and tell them they are only allowed to do X or Y or Z because of that skin color, because of that gender, that sexual preference, for any reason, really. And yet we see over and over again, but that's not quite correct, because you have to be woke, because you have to believe that some people, based on the color of their skin, are not as good or are evil than others. That wokeness is an imperative, that you have to accept it or else. And it's in that environment that brings us to talking about Gina Carano. Yeah. She's been put in jail, or worse, she has been removed from Disney Plus. She has been removed from Star Wars. Lucasfilm have rejected her wholesale in a very strong manner. As we see from Deadline News, the title and the article is Lucasfilm calls Gina Carano's social media post abhorrent. Actress no longer employed by the Mandalorian studio. Now, there are millions of Americans, because they don't look at politics in their entertainment. They want that separate. They see the headline, but they don't read the story. And all they hear is that Gina Carano is abhorrent, that she has said something that was abhorrent. For some, they'll see the first paragraph. And in that first paragraph, they will see, as stated by Deadline, in the wake of Gina Carano's controversial social media posts, Lucasfilm has released a statement Wednesday night with a spokesperson saying, quote, Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. For a massive number of people in America and around the world, that's the only thing they will know about this story. That's the only thing that they will hear, is that Gina Carano has done something abhorrent. They won't know what it is. And most people won't make it to the fourth paragraph to read the quote, but they'll know that she's been removed, that she has been punished, that she has done something that no one should do. But the question is, what did she do? What did she really and truly do? Was it anything abhorrent? Was it anything that should be punished? Well, we have to go to Daily Mail, and we can see in their article, they state right-wing Mandalorian star Gina Carano is fired from the series over, again, a quote, abhorrent Instagram post comparing Nazi murderers of Jews to hating someone for their political views. Let's stop for a moment. She's right-wing. Why does that matter? If she said something truly horrible, does it matter what her politics are? Does it matter if she's left-wing or right-wing? If something was said that was abhorrent, kind of like with Chelsea Handler, if you believe that what Chelsea Handler said was abhorrent, does it matter that she's a Democrat or a progressive? Does it matter what her political belief was? The statement itself, she's reminding a black person of the color of their skin and telling them that they are limited in their choices because of that color of skin. That is abhorrent. Whether that's on the left or the right really doesn't matter. But it seems it does matter because the very first words are right-wing Mandalorian star. So politics is important to this. Politics frames what is abhorrent. That's important to understand. This is politics in entertainment. This is about wokeness controlling the way you think. What we find out is that Lucasfilm has rejected her. She has been removed from the Mandalorian series, from her own spin-off series. She will not work with Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. And even her talent agency, UTA, has dropped her as a client. Now, you would imagine she said something incredibly powerful, something absolutely devastating and terrible. And what she said, because you need to see the full thing, she said, quote, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Quote, because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? What a terrible statement. How horrible a statement that is. In fact, it's so terrible that if we change the words, let me ask you, because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where soldiers could easily round up thousands of progressives, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being progressives. Oh, wait a minute, that's not so terrible. Let me try it a different way. People today don't realize that to get to the point where soldiers could easily round up thousands of blacks, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being black. Wait a minute, that's not abhorrent. That's not terrible. Try it a different way. Today, people today don't realize that to get to the point where soldiers could easily round up thousands of transgenders, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being transgender. Wait a minute. That's not an abhorrent statement. That's a true statement. That's something we would all agree with. Perhaps I'm missing something here, but I think we all would agree. No government should penalize or persecute a group of people because of their religious, their gender, their sexual preference, their skin color. There should be nothing like that. Whether you're transgender, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're white, black, Asian, doesn't matter. You shouldn't be persecuted by the government or any group, political group or otherwise. You should not be persecuted by them because you're different. I mean, isn't that the message of what we see with Batwoman? Where we're being told, you should love this show because it's about politics. You should be upset with Tom Brady because he's white. This is the problem that France has with this. you have to be upset. You have to be upset because a group of people are being persecuted by our government, by the news media. Think about that. The news media is telling you that Gina Carano is bad because she's on a right-wing person, that she has a political belief that is allowed in the United States. She has the freedom to believe whatever she wants. And she is stating in her own words very clearly that she is saying government should not persecute a group of people simply because they are that group of people. And that's an abhorrent statement. How dare you say that? Let me say it yet another way. People today don't realize that to get to the point where soldiers could easily round up thousands of Black Lives Matter members, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Black Lives Matter members. That's not an abhorrent statement. In fact, I think most progressives would agree you should not persecute Black Lives Matter. Matter of fact, they have told us in the media over and over again that Black Lives Matter, it should not be opposed because they were mostly peaceful, because some of their members burned down buildings, arsons that we saw on CNN, that we saw in the news media throughout this entire summer, actually the latter half of 2020, that just because 30 people died due to members of Black Lives Matter, we should not hold the whole organization accountable for that. That it's still a good movement. And if you were to persecute them because of the actions of a few, well, that's wrong. Because government shouldn't pick on a group of people. So if that's true, why is what Gina Carano said bad? What's wrong with what she had to say? I mean, I'm trying to put this in context. I'm trying to understand this. Why is Disney suddenly saying that this is an abhorrent statement, that this is a bad analogy, that no one should make that analogy? And to say this is, not only is it not woke, but it's punishable. No crime was committed, but we have to punish this individual. We have to deny them their livelihood. We have to isolate them and ostracize them from society. Maybe it's because of something else she said. Maybe it's because she said in September that they're mad because I won't put pronouns in my bio to show my support for trans lives. Every month of harassing, after months of harassing me in every way. Oops, I'm sorry. There we go. After months of harassing me in every way, I decided to put 3 very controversial words in my bio. Beep, bop, boop. I'm not against trans lives at all. They need to find less abusive representation. What a terrible, horrible statement. That someone who doesn't want to get into a discussion of gender and identity chose not to get into a discussion of gender and identity and said that I can't be forced to comply because I'm an American and I have the freedom and the right and the First Amendment to say I don't have to comply. That isn't your right. You don't have a right to force me to believe or say something just because you want it. That would be a persecution of a group of people or individuals for having an idea you may or may not like. And that's as true for people who believe in Black Lives Matter as it is for Gina Carano, as for anyone else. Why do the rules change? Is it because she put out a meme that tens of millions of Americans put out memes every day? Some of them mean, some of them nice, some of them funny, some of them political. Everyday memes are out there. And this meme, which came out in November after the election, saying that Democrat government leaders now recommend that we wear blindfolds along with masks so we can't see what's really going on. You know, it's a political statement. How terrible. Because it's saying masks, that our leaders are confused in the way that they are handling the COVID-19 crisis. like back a year ago when Nancy Pelosi said that we should go out amongst people as she did in Chinatown at the beginning of the coronavirus without a mask, without any restrictions, and encouraged others to do so. Like in March when Dr. Fauci said that Americans shouldn't wear a mask, and then changed his mind and said that Americans should wear a mask, and now has changed his mind again and says that Americans should wear 2 masks. There's a confusion in the process. Remember when Democrats back in October were telling Americans that they shouldn't take the COVID-19 vaccine? And now they are expressly telling people that they must take that, especially if they work in certain fields. There is confusion. So to have a meme about that confusion, well, that doesn't seem to be deadly. It's not telling people not to wear masks. It is telling us that our leaders are confused on the message they're telling Americans. Let's see. She said, and this is in November as well, in a world where everyone wears a mask, it's a privilege to see a soul. Well, that's a troubling statement. Let's see. Masks dehumanize Americans and other people around the world. It separates us. It hides us from each other. And it is a privilege to be able to know someone's soul, to get to know someone, whether that's your significant other, your best friend, or your coworkers, to know about people, to share in what they are and who they are. Well, that is a privilege. And if everyone is wearing a mask, whether it's a mask, a physical mask, or whether it's putting on airs to say that you're richer than you are, or that you believe with this one group or another group to make yourself look better, well, yeah, that's true. There's nothing wrong with that statement. Why is that a bad thing? Why is that troubling to anyone? And in fact, it isn't troubling to everyone, because we see Molly Hemingway said, we canceled our Disney subscription tonight because they got rid of Gina Carano. Disney, Dave Rubin, who is gay and is a political commentator. Disney has canceled Gina Carano, so I'm canceling my Disney Plus. We need to stop giving these people our money, and we must build new franchises. Katrina Hayden says, Gina Carano's post made the point that mass violence starts with hatred for your neighbor. This is not only uncontroversially true, but also one perspective of the commandment to love your neighbor. That idea is not a call to empty niceness. It's how you prevent suffering. Kyle Kashov says, Gina Carano was fired for being conservative. It would seem that's all correct and true. And we should be really concerned about this, because it is exactly what she warned against. This is the powerful picking on groups of people, telling them that they are powerless, and abusing them and abusing the power that they have. That's the news media telling you that you have to watch Batwoman, even though the audience agrees it's not a good show. But you have to watch it because it's woke. And if you don't, well, there's a problem with you, not with, say, the writing or acting or the quality of the program. That you have to agree that there's white privilege in a game filled with multimillionaires, talented individuals, many of them black, most of them black. But no, you should be upset. In fact, we see that individuals are saying things like, watch Republican after Republican just lose everything because of how blank of a person they are is really my favorite pastime. What does this have to do with Republicans? Why is it about her being Republican? If the statement is a bad statement, then it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. It's a bad statement. Isn't that true? If you're a racist, it doesn't matter if you're a Democratic or independent or progressive racist. You're still a racist. If you're a transphobe, it doesn't matter if you are a Democrat, a progressive, an independent. You're still a transphobe. Isn't that true? Or is there some different classification that I'm unaware of? How about Graylight says, turns out that when you publicly support and encourage authoritarianism and fascism, you reflect poorly on your employer and they want nothing to do with you. Well, wait a minute. Let me make sure I get that. When you publicly support and encourage authoritarianism. Well, wait a minute. We showed you what she said. It's not authoritarian. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's warning against authoritarian rule. That if an oppressive government or an oppressive group of power pick on another group, that's wrong. How is that fascist? In fact, wouldn't the opposite be true? That if you support a government that picks on a group of people simply because they are different, that is fascist, that is authoritarian. Well, maybe it's because you're just reading the headlines. Maybe it's because you didn't actually read what she said. You didn't actually look at what she said. And it troubles me. It troubles me because I also recall Pedro Pascal. He made a statement. And this was back on June of 2018. Yes, he filled in and he complied with the requirement of putting his gender preferences out there. Good for him. And he said that this is America, comparing American immigration policy to that of Germany, 1944. Except he happened to lie, because the image isn't in America. Not in 2018, not in 2021, not ever. The image isn't from an American, that's not from America. It's from another country in South America. In fact, the only time that we saw that children were being put into cages, literally, was under the Obama administration. And that was prior to 2016. So Pedro Pascal has literally lied. He has misrepresented the truth on many levels, but that's okay. Misrepresenting the truth, which is not covered by the First Amendment. To factually say something that is not true is not covered by the First Amendment. And that is supported because he is woke, as signified by his gender preferences. And he's okay, because he's not picking on a group that is supported by the news media, by certain governments. In fact, he's helping to promote that persecution, in this case of conservatives and Republicans. You should be troubled. We've gone on at length here to make this as clear as it can be, that the problem does not lie with Gina Carano. In fact, we support Gina Carano and her expression of free speech. We support the statement she made, and we agree with it. As we have shown you, it applies in favor of any minority, any organization or group of people. We believe that no government should persecute individuals because of their skin color, because of their gender, because of their race, because of their religious beliefs. And I think everyone in America agrees with that. To misrepresent that and to say that it is abhorrent is wrong. And that is the authoritarian power persecuting individuals. We think Disney Plus is wrong. We disagree with them. We oppose them, and we will not support them. We stopped supporting Disney and Disney Star Wars back in episode 8 of the sequel series. We continue to not support that channel and advise others that you may not wish to do so either. That is, of course, your choice. You're not obligated to believe what we believe. We will not persecute you if you do or do not follow what we are doing ourselves, because that's freedom. But we do believe that the more that we see entertainment being mixed into our politics, or our politics into our entertainment, the more we are being told what we must believe, what we must agree with, what we must think and say, the worse it is for our nation and for our world. There's a reason why the president of France has opposed wokeness. There's a reason why the saying is, go woke, get broke. There's a reason why authoritarian powers only have control when they are allowed to get away with it. But maybe you believe we misunderstood this. Maybe you think that we didn't get the essence of it. Maybe there's an understanding of that statement, a phrasing of that statement, separate than what we've been able to show you, that somehow proves that it's a bad thing to say. We look forward to hearing those comments. We look forward to hearing your discussion. And we look forward to seeing you on our live stream on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. to tell us what you think. Because free speech matters. And if you have found this to be informative or interesting, please do like it, share it, and most of all, please do subscribe to the channel so that we can spread this message of free speech and to hear what other people think more and more. We thank you. We look forward to speaking to you again soon, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday.